Hello all, good morning. This is Dr. S. Subbalakshmi, an assistant professor in the Department of Mathematics, SNS College of Technology. This is a lecture video series on the course statistics and we are on to the topic F-test. In the previous video, we have seen the procedure for doing or conducting F-test. Now we will have a problem related to the F-test. In one sample of 8 observations, the sum of the squares of deviations of the sample values from the sample mean was 84.4, and in the other sample of 10 observations it was 102.6. Test whether this difference is significant at 5% level. So what we are given with? We are given with the two samples. The first sample, and for the second sample we are given with something. What we are given with, just we will have a read on the question and now we can understand what we are given as a question. So what is in the first sample? In one sample of 8 observations, is this sample number of observations is n1, and the second sample is found to be 10 observations, which is called as n2. So this is how we identify the number of observations given in the question. So, and also we are given that in one sample of 8 observations, the sum of the squares of the deviations of the sample values from the sample mean. This is what our technical sentence given. So what we can just split the question here like sum of the squares of the deviations of the sample values from the sample mean. This is how we are just going to split the given question. So now, what is the sum of the means? We are just summing up. Squares of the means, we are just squaring it up. And of the sample of the deviations, what are the deviations? Deviations are nothing but the arithmetic mean of the sample values from the sample mean, we are just given with sum of the squares of the deviations of the sample values with the sample mean. This is what we are given with. So for the first sample, it can be mentioned as sum of the squares of the deviations of the sample values with the sample mean. This is what we are given with. So which is nothing but summation of x minus x bar the whole square. As we already knew, we have to read the sentence given in the question well to understand the problem. So for the first sample, we are given with n1 is equal to 8, and for the second sample, we are given with n2 is equal to 10. And as already explained, this is the sum of the squares of the sample values from the deviations of the sample mean, and this is for the second sample as given here. And later on, what we have to find? We have to find s1 squared and s2 squared since we are on the F-test. So, and also we have to note that we need to find whether these two samples are given from the same population or not. This is what our testing procedure is. So, moving on to the actual problem, we have to frame the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. As usually, what will be our null hypothesis, which is h0 colon s1 squared is equal to s2 squared. We can mention it as sigma 1 squared and sigma 2 squared. Actually, in the null hypothesis, we will name only for the population and not for the sample. Here, capital S denotes the population's standard deviations here, variances here. So, S1, sigma 1 squared is equal to sigma squared. There is no significant difference is our null hypothesis. Moving on to the second step. Here, we doesn't have any alternative hypothesis as we have seen already. And moving on to the second step, which is our test statistic. What will be our test statistic? F calculated value. What is our F calculated value? S1 squared by S2 squared. So, for that, we are in need of calculating S1 squared and so what is S1 squared? Summation of x minus x bar the whole square divided by n1 minus 1. And what is S2 squared? Summation of y minus y bar the whole square divided by n2 minus 1. So on substituting the mere values from the given question, we will be finding it out with the mere simple minor calculations. We will have S1 squared to be 12.057 and S2 squared to be 11.4. So this is what we have found. And later on, we are just substituting it in the formula or the F calculated test statistic, which will be 1.057. So what will be the F calculated value? F calculated is 1.057 is the calculated value. Next step, in the next step we will be finding the level of significance. It is as given earlier that it is 5%, and we also note to have the degrees of freedom. What are the degrees of freedom here? Sigma 1 is equal to n1 minus 1 and sigma 2 is equal to n2 minus 1. So on calculating it, we have 7 and 9 here. So this is what we have 7 and 9 here. So for F table value, F tabulated at 5% level of significance and 7,9 degrees of freedom, we have the table value to be 3.29. So what is our table value? Our table value is 3.29. So what we have to do now, we have to compare the calculated value and the table value. So what do we have got? It is just lesser to the table value. Which is just lesser to the table value? F calculated is lesser to the table value, and therefore what we will do, we accept the null hypothesis H0. Therefore what we conclude by this testing of hypothesis? We will just conclude that there is no significant difference between the two samples, which means we accept the null hypothesis, that is the population variances are same, but which means the sample variances have come from the same population. The given sample variances have come from the same population. Likewise, we will do another problem in the next video for F test as well. Thank you.